Okay, here we go. I'm gonna hit record. Hi, Gary.
Hello.
We'll give it a second. We are Facebook Live today. It's 3 o'clock. We're just gonna give it another moment to see if anybody pops in. But if not, we're really excited. We get to have a one-on-one conversation with you today.
Oh my gosh. I can pass it if that makes it better for you.
Yeah, no, we're good. We're good. Okay, so I think we're going to go ahead and get started since we are Facebook Live, and so we can have people viewing us from everywhere. I just want to welcome everybody to our new 3 p.m. time slot for our Tuesday calls. Today we have with us Nicole Natale from CREC and CREC Resource Group or Center?
Group, you got it.
Right. CREC Resource Group. And she is a senior educational specialist. And she's going to talk to us. I'm going to let her introduce herself in a little bit, but today we're going to be talking about the high needs resource guide. I wrote term for some reason. I got twice on my paper. So high needs resource guide that is out from the state. So Nicole, I'm going to let you go ahead and introduce yourself and we'll get started.
Great. Hi, I'm Nicole Natale. I'm a speech language pathologist and assistive technology practitioner. And also my main title is senior education specialist. And I work for the CREC Resource Group, and we provide education services throughout the CREC Hartford region. And my team is the assistive technology team, and we work with students all over who have high needs or dyslexia and require access to the curriculum for assistive technology or augmentative and alternative communication. And I'm so excited to be here today.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it too. Is a bad word for me, and I say it all the time, no matter how much I practice it. And then we get in these live situations and I hear it over and over, so I'm just going to apologize from the beginning.
No one even notices it. Everybody
they just go out the door now.
Yeah.
So one of my sons, who no matter what I say I'm doing, they do show up in the middle of what we're doing. So if you want to explain to us the why or maybe just give an overview of the high needs resource guide and what
Sure.
it is.
Yep. So the actual title of the guide, and maybe it would be helpful to share my screen so people can see what I'm talking about. Do you think that now is a good time? Okay. I will share my desktop so I can just show you a little bit. And please ignore my very messy desktop with other things on it. So this is on, and there's a few links in the chat, and we can put it on Facebook too. This is the supporting parents and caregivers of students with high needs during the COVID-19 pandemic. And this was created in conjunction with the State Department of Education, the State of Connecticut Department of Education, with the RESC Alliance. So pretty much every RESC that exists in Connecticut was part of creating this guide, CAPSEF and CPAC as well. And so this was created based upon a need that parents were talking about, and teachers and the Department of Ed, for students who have high needs to be able to try to access distance learning, continuing educational opportunities during the pandemic. We were hearing, and we know that there's a group of students that it's really challenging to provide continued educational opportunities for. It's challenging to sit in front of a screen and learn from a screen and hold sustained attention for long periods of time. And so this guide was developed as a supplement for parents to help parents of students with high needs, just provide some resources, some support, some quick tips that are supposed to hopefully be helpful, just to be able to have parents be able to embed them throughout the day. because we know that it's really hard to work with students with high needs in a more formalized educational setting at home, especially. It's hard for everybody, but especially for students with high needs. So that was the point of starting this or creating this resource guide. And now, for the most part, it's pretty much finished. So this was really good timing.
So can you tell us a little bit about why it was needed, why they felt it was needed, and the time was put into this?
Yeah, I think it was because of the struggles that that school teams were having, that districts are having, that parents were having at home, providing continued education opportunities for students with high needs, because they cannot really be provided like the more traditional distance learning for students who have more significant needs or significant support needs. So because of that, the state of the Department of Ed was responding to those issues, and I believe they were hearing from parents all over and from teams that this group of students was being challenged to be provided with educational opportunities in this distance learning environment. So we wanted to be able to give parents and school teams as well, but parents supplemental resources as a support to help during this time.
Do you think you can highlight a couple of sections for us?
Sure. So incidentally, before I even go any further, on the state website, there is this one pager. I put the link in the chat, and maybe, I don't know, are you able to put it on the Facebook Live chat as well?
I did already upload both of your links to Facebook Live, so it's there for people there as well.
Great. So this one page document I think is really helpful because it gives a brief description of the resource, and then there are links for every section in the resource right here. So it's a nice just place to start. We started with getting started because that was some of the feedback, and I'm going to click on that section, that we were hearing from parents, was that all of a sudden we were all just thrust into this continued education, distance learning world, and our homes weren't set up to provide continued education opportunities for our kiddos, especially our students with high needs. And so the initial section was this getting started section. So I'm in the resource document now, and the getting started starts with self-care. And I know that, this one is functional tips, actually. This is just the beginning. And then the next section, and I'm going to go down to it, sorry if I'm scrolling a little fast, starts with self-care. And I think in your conversation last week, I think that was a topic of conversation, was self-care for caregivers. So as part of the getting started section, there's self-care. So it just talks about some important strategies for it and some resources. And then it gets into the nitty-gritty of setting up the educational environment for, as best as possible, educational opportunities at home. And one of the things we wanted to do as well is, I don't know about you, but I think we're all getting inundated with all of these emails from companies and from places that we've logged into before. And I'm getting inundated with webinar after webinar and resource after resource on all my listservs and my social media. And we wanted to try to just put together a resource that could just provide some really good quick links for people to go to, so you don't have to just keep searching the internet, because for me it can get super overwhelming. So we picked some of our greatest hits in terms of resources for each section, and so that goes without saying here in the setting up the environment. There's some strategies here, and there's some embedded links here. We tried to provide resources that are based in research-based strategies, evidence-based strategies, but that also are practical and that can also provide additionally some free tools and resources for parents at home to use, so that, you know, we're not obviously creating anything with an additional expense as well.
Well, I know that we probably really, I can't say probably, definitely appreciate everything being in one place, because like you said, there's so much information out there. And I know that we've talked about it a couple of different times, where it's kind of like an overload, and we don't know what to do next, or where do we go, or what information is good information, what information is you know, is valid, is researched and can work. And there was just so much out there, so we appreciate that. Can you talk a little bit, I know you said that when this first came out, which was a couple of weeks ago or a month ago?
Yes, yeah, about a month ago probably. Yeah,
that it was kind of a work in progress, so to speak, but
yeah,
it's completed now, is that what I understand?
it is.
So that's exciting, because it's a big document.
It is a big document. We tried to put it's all in one document, but if you're not interested in math, you could just go to the document, and then each of these highlighted and underlined subsections you can go straight to, which is nice too. You don't have to keep scrolling and scrolling. And also in Google Docs, not everybody has seen this before, but you can go to the left and go to the document outline, and then you can actually see what's available there and click right on it as well. But everything in the document is completed now, and just I didn't really mention exactly who was involved. So I told you about the groups. So we had parents creating resources. We had Alicia Trachis and Colleen Hales from the state providing resources and feedback. And we also had a number of clinicians, related service staff, OTs, PTs, speech therapists, literacy specialists, and teachers as well. We had art therapists and art teachers and gym teachers. So there was it's a huge collaboration amongst professionals and people who are, you know, working with students on a daily basis, providing input and providing resources. So I didn't really give all those details before, so I wanted to make sure.
Well, thank you, because I know that when we were talking about it, that was one of the things I said, let people know how many people were involved, because I know as parents, it's good to know, it makes us feel good that parents had an input, because you know, it's just a different environment, and that teachers, because again, teachers, it's a different environment. We haven't swapped roles. We've just swapped locations of where the student is, because during that time, right, they're still our children, but they're the student when they're learning. And so this way you're getting both sides of everything that's going on. So we appreciate all the time and effort and thought that went into making sure that there was a good task force behind developing this. Does anybody have any questions? Because I just want to stop for a second. If you have questions, you know, you can always type them. But if anybody, Mary, hi, do you have any questions that we might be able to answer?
No, definitely. I would say this is definitely very helpful, though. I was just looking at it. It looks very helpful. We've definitely, the schedule, like a visual schedule, is definitely in our house a huge help. I write down all their assignments on a whiteboard for the day, and as they do them, they cross them off so they can actually see them like going away, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So that has been tremendous, for at least in our house.
And that's great. And that's that's great feedback, but it's nice that it's all in one place. Gary, if you have any questions, feel free to pop in. I checked Facebook. We don't have anything there yet, but I did share both of the links on Facebook Live. And before we go, though, because we have a little bit of time left, I just wanted to talk about what's coming next on us.
For this resource. Yep. Yeah. So on the state webpage, we recorded initially a webinar or two. I can't remember exactly which one is out just yet, but I know the Getting Started was recorded. And I believe the art, I'm not sure if it's up there just yet, but I'm going to check. I can check while I'm talking. But so this guide incidentally, is going to continue to be available. We're going to put out small 5-10 minute webinars about each section that will help people understand what's in each section. And then we do intend to have an ongoing additional resources part of this, because what we were, some of the feedback we were getting is what we have up there right now is wonderful and helpful, but who knows what the landscape's going to be in a few weeks or what comes out, and so we want to be able to continue to update it without making it too confusing and convoluted. So I think our next part is going to be actually one more full subsection that will be just called additional resources that will continue, a small group of us will continue to update and then organize over time too. So so that this document can continue to live and breathe and be helpful for people, especially parents. And I want to make sure just in general that I didn't really mention it. It says it in the guide a lot, but this is meant to be a supplement. Of course, this is meant to be additional resources for parents, but of course, always starting with your school team. And it says it throughout the document, and it gives even some tips about communicating with your school team, to ensure that whatever your priorities are in line with your school and of course your school team in general. But this is meant to help supplement some of those resources and some of those some of the activities that might be really fun to help you be functional at home.
Thank you. One of the things that we've talked about several times as well is definitely that communication with your school team, because each child is an individual and their needs are individualized. And so we want to reach out, and I share a story and I'll share it again with a little thing for me, which was I got very upset and frustrated because my son couldn't read his emails and access them. And I was frustrated and I was snarky in return in my poor district. And, but in reality, once I had that communication, they had the assistive technology that he needed to be able to be independent. But we just had to have that. Why would he need that? I think.
You froze a little bit, I think, on me. Did she freeze for you, Mary? Okay.
I wasn't sure if that was my end or her end.
I wasn't sure either, but then I saw you moving. So, there you go.
Okay, so it was me. I apologize. I'm hardwired in today too, so I'm really, and it's not that windy, so I'm not sure. But I'm back. But what I said was, we don't know what we don't know until we know we don't know it. So if we communicate, then we can figure it out together. So I had just wanted to, before we go, I was going to, this guide is also on CPAC's webpage. And so I just wanted to kind of sneak over here. And it's right when you sign on to our webpage. Can you see my screen? Okay, good. So right when you go onto our web screen, it pops up automatically and you can view our COVID-19 resources. And to the bottom, we have a bunch of things, but it's resources for students with high needs. And so they have a getting started video that you can watch, and we'll talk about all the people that were involved in putting this together originally. And then there's also supporting parents. The guide is here. So you can also reach it on our webpage as well, if you wanted to. So I'm going to stop my share because you never know what's there. I tried to close everything before we went. I'm just going to check Facebook one more time, but does anybody have any questions? So we wanted to ask a couple of other people to attend, and we're hoping to get your feedback on how you feel about someone coming over to maybe go over literacy specific, or what was another?
Yeah, so I can share my screen again if you want to see. what's in the guide in case you don't have it up. So the main sections besides getting started: communication, literacy, math, science, social studies, current events, physical activity, life skills, art, sensory, and play and leisure are all the main sections.
So we can have somebody come in and go a little bit deeper into some of the sections with us in the future if that's something that you guys are interested in. So let us know and we'll continue to look into that. So we try to keep our Tuesday's chats to about 20 minutes. So we're right about that time right now. So I just want to thank you. Well, first, any questions at all about anything?
I do want to just say one thing, which is just quickly, a lot of the resources that we mentioned, thanks for creating visual supports, some of the interactive activities, a lot of them are still free right now. The problem is going to be when they end, but things like Boardmaker usually only has a 30-day free trial. It's 90 days free right now. A lot of the online resources that we mention are free. So if you're able to, of course you want to work with your school team to create supports and visuals and all that kind of stuff, but if you're interested in learning some of those tools or providing and printing out certain visual supports, or this is now definitely the time to do it. 90 days is a really long time to have a trial of something that's relatively, it's not super expensive, but it's certainly an expense. So I just wanted to say now, I don't know how much longer a lot of these companies are going to be offering these free or very low or reduced cost materials. So I just wanted to make sure to point that out too.
I thank you, because it's with that being said, I encourage everybody to go through the guide and take a look at some of the resources that are there, because what a great opportunity to see hands-on different resources that maybe might be more beneficial to a specific student, to your child, to your home situation, whatever it may be. On top of that, there's so many times we think something might work and it's not as wonderful as we thought it for our specific need. So it's a great time to do that trial and error, because we're all in a time of change anyway. So definitely look through the guide, take a look at some of those opportunities that might be there for you. I think learning opportunities is the phrase that we use, not just for the students, but definitely for us, because we are, I think, as families, like I got head shaking all over the board. This is the time where we are definitely learning as well. I think our kids kind of get a kick out of it. If we can put it together, they think it's great. I don't know about you, but we've always said that this generation of students, they're so much more tech savvy than we were. And there's definitely some times right now where they're proving that skill, where it's more difficult for us to get out and have these conversations than for them to sit there in their classroom. They make it look so easy. So, and some of them struggle staying, but they can do it. They know how to get in there. So take a look and see what's available to you. I just also want to say that we will have our 3 p.m. call on Thursday this week, and it is just a English support call, and the topic is what arises, like what's the parents most need at the time. Next Tuesday, and we have our Spanish call on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 1 o'clock. This is a new schedule for our Spanish support calls. So it's only Monday, Wednesday, and Friday now. And Wednesday afternoons at 4 is our Spanish call. And I apologize, I can't remember who they have on tomorrow. And next week is coming out, and we will have, I believe, Brian Klumpowitz from the Department of Special Education. And then we'll also have on Thursday someone on to talk about anxiety and helping cope with anxiety during our family support call in English. We also have our Next Steps leadership training that will be starting in June, and we'll get more information out of there, but it is a 6-week course about all of special education that you can think of, from from PPTs to the law and developing an IEP, everything in between. It's a great opportunity for both parents and teachers or administration, anybody to get involved. It is usually a dual capacity type training, so we get a good look from all sides. Anyway, again, Nicole, thank you so much. I hope you come back.
Thank you for having me anytime.
Workers come in and go through this guide. We really can't thank you enough for the time that everybody put in to put together such a great guide. So Mary and Gary, thank you for, hey, it rhymes, for reaching out today on our Zoom call. And thank you to everybody on Facebook Live, and we'll talk soon. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, Amy just got on.
Oh.
Yeah. All right.